What do you say to people who justified his death?
You're sick. He's a human being. You think he deserved that? Tell that to my 3-year-old daughter. Excuse me. You want to watch in high res the video of my husband being murdered and laugh and say he deserves it? There's something very sick in your soul, and I pray that God saves you. I pray, because that is what is so wrong. The internet in this world has dehumanized us.
It all started with a single sentence. Joe Rogan used words in his podcast that were so unexpected, so bold, and so dangerously specific that the entire internet froze in its tracks. With a straight face and a tone that sent shivers throughout the studio, Joe leaned into his microphone and said that he believed Erika Kirk had been planning something much darker than people realized, and it involved the White House. Within seconds, this clip spread like wildfire across all social media platforms. Viewers began dissecting every word, every pause, every glance, because Joe wasn't joking. He wasn't speculating, and he definitely wasn't rambling aimlessly. He claimed he had receipts, insider conversations, political whispers, and leaked messages that pointed to an agenda so outrageous it almost sounded fictional, but only almost. Because according to Joe, Erika wasn't interested in redemption, grief, charity, or rebuilding her public image. She wanted power, real power, the kind of power that comes from strategic alliances, emotional manipulation, and inserting herself into the life of the one man she believed could propel her into political royalty. Joe claimed Erika wasn't chasing sympathy but rather chasing a title. He said she wanted to be First Lady, and he wasn't joking or exaggerating but was dead serious. The moment he said it, the internet erupted into chaos. People began pulling up old interviews, resurfacing photographs, and analyzing her behavior at political events. Suddenly, moments that once appeared innocent now looked calculated and deliberate. Friendly smiles seemed strategic and well-planned. Emotional speeches felt rehearsed and scripted. Her proximity to certain politicians, especially one rising figure connected to the biggest conservative movement, looked less accidental and more intentional with every passing observation. But Joe didn't stop there with his revelations. He hinted that Erika wasn't working alone on this endeavor. Someone powerful was backing her, someone with everything to gain from this arrangement. And then Joe dropped the bombshell statement that if the public saw what he had seen, they would understand that her plan started long before Charlie died. That is precisely where the real story begins its unfolding. Long before Joe Rogan said a single word on his podcast episode. Long before the internet started stitching together photographs and video clips of Erika Kirk like some kind of political detective board. Long before anyone realized this wasn't grief, confusion, or emotional instability manifesting itself, there were whispers circulating in certain circles. Quiet ones that most people never heard. The kind of whispers that only circulate in private donor dinners, behind green room curtains, and inside the homes of people who walk through Washington carrying secrets instead of shadows following them. And every single one of those whispers pointed to the same unsettling possibility that was becoming harder to ignore. Erika Kirk wasn't drifting aimlessly through her grief and confusion. She was positioning herself strategically for something much bigger. To the public eye, Erika appeared broken and shattered. The widow-in-law navigating a tragedy connected to one of the most vocal conservative figures in the entire country. She cried at public events and memorial services. She spoke softly with a trembling voice. She carried a Bible in her bag wherever she went. She smiled with eyes that seemed to be filled with tears constantly. People naturally assumed she was healing and processing her grief in her own way. But insiders who paid closer attention noticed something else entirely. Something darker and strangely precise in its execution. No matter where she went or which event she attended, Erika attached herself to influence and power structures. She never stood near minor figures or irrelevant attendees. She didn't mingle with unimportant guests or old acquaintances seeking comfort. She wasn't drawn to emotional comfort or support from old friends who knew her before. Instead, she gravitated toward ambition in its purest forms, toward senators' wives, key donors with deep pockets, political strategists with national connections, presidential advisors with insider access, and most notably toward men who were being discussed as future White House material in conservative circles. That's when people with keen observation skills started paying serious attention to her movements. Not because of anything Erika explicitly said in public statements, but because of the way she watched and observed everyone around her. Multiple observers described her behavior in remarkably similar terms. They said she studies people like they are pieces on a chessboard waiting to be moved. She listens like she's collecting psychological data for future use. She remembers absolutely everything that's said to her. One insider commented that she clearly wants something specific, but nobody dared say out loud what they really suspected was happening behind the scenes, at least not until Joe Rogan did it for them. Because Joe wasn't operating off pure speculation or wild theories. He had sources providing him information, unfiltered ones who spoke without censorship, uncensored ones who had access to circles the public never sees or hears about. According to Joe's insider sources, Erika's shift into political proximity didn't begin after Charlie died as most people assumed. It actually began before that tragic event occurred. And the story starts nearly 12 months earlier when things began to change. Charlie had begun distancing himself from certain Turning Point USA internal decisions and meetings. His closest friends noticed he was increasingly uneasy, constantly on his phone having hushed conversations, avoiding certain meetings that he would normally attend, and no longer trusting a few core members of his inner circle. People around him assumed it was exhaustion from overwork, burnout from the relentless schedule, or standard conservative infighting that happens in political movements. But privately, Charlie confided in only 2 people about what was really troubling him. A longtime friend he had known for years, and Erika herself. He told her things he never recorded on any device, never put in email correspondence, never wrote down on paper anywhere, things he deeply regretted getting involved in, things he desperately wished he could step away from completely. And Erika, whether genuinely grieving or not, took in every single word he shared with her. But then something strange and concerning happened that changed the dynamic entirely. Charlie began actively pulling Erika away from politics and political circles, begging her to stay home instead of attending events, urging her repeatedly to avoid certain meetings and gatherings, insisting that she cut ties with several influential figures who seemed interested in her. He claimed they were manipulating her for their own purposes, using her vulnerability, pushing her into conversations she wasn't properly prepared for or equipped to handle. Insiders who witnessed these conversations say, he told her several times with increasing urgency that she didn't understand what these people truly wanted from her or what they were preparing her for. But Erika didn't listen to his warnings or heed his concerns. And according to Joe's interpretation of events, that's because the people Charlie was desperately warning her about were the exact same people Erika felt increasingly drawn to and fascinated by. Powerful figures with direct access to national platforms and media outlets. Potential running mates for future presidential tickets. Future presidential hopefuls themselves who were being groomed for higher office. One individual in particular stood out from all the rest, a rising political star whose name carried significant weight. A man whose name had been whispered repeatedly as vice presidential material. Someone who publicly praised Charlie and his work yet privately clashed with him on numerous fundamental issues. Erika encountered this man at events constantly, their paths crossing far more frequently than simple coincidence should reasonably allow. Photographers caught them speaking in corners at multiple gatherings. Staffers whispered about their private conversations that seemed to last longer than appropriate. And every single time Erika appeared near him at any event, she carried a specific notebook, the same notebook she claimed to use for personal journaling. Though insiders who saw her using it claimed she was actually writing down strategic talking points and political observations rather than personal thoughts. Charlie absolutely hated this man with obvious intensity. Erika admired him with equal intensity. That contrast between their opinions wasn't small or insignificant. It was absolutely seismic in its implications. Because approximately 3 months before Charlie's final trip that would end in tragedy, he reportedly had a massive argument with Erika that shook their entire relationship. One conversation so heated and intense that neighbors living nearby heard shouting coming from inside their home. Charlie accused her of being naive and blind to manipulation, of being manipulated by people with hidden agendas, of letting powerful men shape her into something she wasn't meant to become. Erika snapped back at him with equal fury and frustration. She told him that he didn't see the bigger picture of what was really happening. She said he never did understand the opportunities presenting themselves. Those were some of her last meaningful words to him before his tragic passing occurred. After Charlie died, everything changed in ways nobody could have predicted. Erika didn't disappear from the public eye to grieve privately as most widows would. Instead, she appeared everywhere that mattered politically. She attended fundraisers with major donors, prayer breakfasts with influential religious leaders, women's conferences with conservative activists, political galas with decision-makers, and at each single event she attended, she edged closer and closer to the exact people Charlie had tried desperately to warn her about. The same political figure he distrusted kept appearing near her, the same future power circle he wanted her away from, the same whispered influence pipeline he feared was corrupting her judgment. People who observed her during this period began describing Erika very differently than before. They stopped using words like grieving or lost when talking about her. Instead, they started using the word calculated to describe her behavior and movements. She began dressing more formally and professionally at every appearance, speaking more assertively with confident tones, aligning herself strategically with topics that gained national traction in conservative media, and stepping confidently into conversations about leadership principles, legacy building, and the future of American families and values. Tea was subtle at first in its early stages, then gradually became bold in execution, and then finally became completely unmistakable to anyone paying attention. The shift became absolutely unavoidable and undeniable the night Erika appeared at a closed-door political retreat that most people didn't even know was happening. Seated directly next to the senator whose name repeatedly appears in White House prediction lists across conservative media outlets. A Senator Joe Rogan referenced directly when he said with complete certainty that Erika's plan lines up perfectly with someone else's future campaign strategy. According to Joe's analysis of the situation, the connection between them wasn't merely political in nature, it was deeply strategic and calculated. Erika wasn't playing defense after Charlie's death trying to protect his legacy. She was actively building something entirely new, positioning herself deliberately in power circles, rebranding her personal tragedy into professional opportunity, leveraging her access to influence circles that most widows never even come close to entering. Joe claimed that Erika began telling certain trusted confidants something deeply unsettling that revealed her true intentions. She would say that Charlie always believed she could be more than just someone's wife or support system. But the rumor that absolutely set Washington political circles on fire came from a staffer who once overheard Erika whisper something chilling to a mentor who was guiding her. She said that people constantly underestimate how far she's willing to go to achieve her goals. When this particular quote resurfaced and started circulating, Joe Rogan connected it directly to a leaked screenshot from a private conversation, one showing Erika discussing long-term positioning strategies, image rehabilitation tactics, and post-2028 planning with precision. Grassroots activists initially brushed it off as gossip, but high-level insiders immediately panicked when they saw the evidence because the specific wording, the precise timing, the surrounding context, all pointed to one absolutely chilling possibility that nobody wanted to admit. Erika Kirk wasn't drifting randomly toward political influence circles. She was actively pursuing it with focused determination. And not as a supporter from the sidelines, not as a behind-the-scenes strategist, not as a widow simply reclaiming her voice after tragedy, but as something far more ambitious than anyone imagined. She was positioning herself as a future political spouse, someone who could one day stand beside a presidential candidate on national stages, someone whose carefully crafted image could be molded into First Lady material for conservative audiences, someone whose proximity to a rising political star was absolutely no accident whatsoever. Joe Rogan summed up the entire situation with a single devastating line that cut through all the noise. He said that people think Erika's grieving and processing trauma, but grief doesn't demand power in the way she's pursuing it. Strategy does exactly what we're witnessing. And according to him, that strategy had a specific architect backing her from behind the scenes. Someone who stood to benefit tremendously from grooming Erika into a role Charlie never wanted her anywhere near. And that architect behind this entire operation, Joe claims he knows exactly who this person is, and he's prepared to name them publicly when the time is right. The moment Joe Rogan hinted that he knew the architect behind Erika Kirk's alleged First Lady ambitions, the internet absolutely convulsed with reaction. The political world froze completely in anticipation. Commentators began refreshing their social media feeds like addicts desperately waiting for the next hit of information. Because Joe wasn't teasing his audience for entertainment purposes, he was preparing the public for a revelation that had already sent shockwaves through conservative circles long before he ever turned on a microphone to discuss it publicly. Erika, meanwhile, remained eerily silent throughout this entire explosion of attention. Her public relations team insisted repeatedly that she was grieving privately and processing her loss, but insiders whispered that she was actually working non-stop behind the scenes doing something entirely different, rebranding her image systematically, positioning herself strategically in new networks, attending off-camera gatherings with people who normally wouldn't take her calls or give her access. Everything about her behavior pointed to forward movement rather than emotional collapse. Not stagnation but deliberate forward momentum toward a specific goal. And that was precisely what terrified Washington insiders the most. What nobody expected in this unfolding drama, however, was how quickly Joe's public claims would trigger serious retaliation from unknown forces. Because the exact moment Joe Rogan suggested that Erika had been groomed into a political role, someone else stepped forward with information. Someone with a much darker story to tell about what had really been happening. At exactly 2:37 in the afternoon, an anonymous message was sent simultaneously to multiple journalists across different outlets. The message was brief but terrifying in its implications. It said that Joe is only telling half the story about what's really happening. It instructed them to ask Erika about something called the mirror meetings. It told them to ask her why Charlie tried desperately to stop them from continuing. Within minutes of this message circulating, the phrase mirror meetings became the top trending term online across all platforms. Nobody knew what it actually meant or referred to, but the fear surrounding it was absolutely unmistakable and palpable. People speculated wildly with increasingly dark theories. Some thought it meant secret political training sessions. Others imagined private power rehearsals where she practiced. Some suggested emotional manipulation sessions designed to break her down. The theories grew darker, stranger, and more chilling with each passing hour. Reporters immediately called Joe Rogan's team asking for official comment on these mirror meetings. Joe refused to comment initially, but on his very next show, he smirked knowingly and said with casual confidence that yes, he had definitely heard of these mirror meetings. And just like that, he poured gasoline on a wildfire that was already burning out of control. Now everything was on the table for public discussion and speculation. The origin of these mysterious mirror meetings became the obsession of every political commentator. These meetings, according to insiders who came forward, began approximately 6 months before Charlie's death occurred. Erika allegedly attended private coaching sessions with a small circle of political image consultants, people specifically known for building candidates from scratch, crafting spousal personas for political families, and preparing future first ladies for life under intense national scrutiny. But these weren't typical public relations sessions like most people go through. They were held exclusively at night when nobody would notice. Mobile phones were completely banned from the premises. Curtains were drawn tightly shut. Sessions lasted hours without breaks. And the strangest detail that emerged, Erika wasn't preparing for a charity position or non-profit role. She wasn't preparing for a speaking tour circuit. She wasn't preparing to lead a foundation in Charlie's memory. She was reportedly preparing for a role that didn't even exist yet in reality. Preparing to become America's future conservative First Lady. One whistleblower who had direct knowledge claimed Erika stood in front of full-length mirrors for hours practicing very specific things. Practicing posture and body language, hand movements and gestures, emotional expressions on command, smiling on cue when appropriate, supportive spouse tones in her voice, camera-ready reactions to scripted scenarios, and public introductions using phrases like "my husband and I believe." Joe Rogan's audience went absolutely wild when these details emerged. This wasn't simple ambition or career planning. This was methodical preparation for a specific role. And Charlie, according to everyone who knew him, absolutely hated these meetings with intense passion. According to a leaked text message from one of Charlie's closest friends, he begged Erika repeatedly to stop attending those meetings. He thought they were dangerous for her mental state. He said she was changing into someone he didn't recognize. People kept asking the obvious question. Changing how exactly? Nobody knew the answer until the first bombshell piece of evidence hit the public. The leaked recording arrived without warning and changed everything instantly. Just after midnight on what seemed like an ordinary evening, a 14-second audio clip was anonymously posted online across multiple platforms simultaneously. It spread like absolute wildfire before anyone could contain it or delete it from circulation, but not before millions of people heard it and saved copies. It was unmistakably Erika's voice captured on the recording. Her tone was calm, cold, and focused in a way she had never sounded before in any public appearance. She said with chilling clarity that First Lady isn't a dream or fantasy. It's a blueprint she's following. And she declared with certainty that she will not miss an opportunity again like she had in the past. Just 14 seconds of audio and the entire world lost its mind completely. Political commentators screamed betrayal on their shows. Critics accused her of manipulating grief for personal advancement. Supporters who had defended her were stunned into silence. But the clip itself wasn't even the biggest twist in this saga. The twist came when someone leaked exactly who she was speaking to when she said those words. The audio wasn't recorded from one of the mirror meetings as people initially assumed. It wasn't spoken to a friend during a private conversation. It wasn't said to a political consultant during a training session. It was said directly to a sitting United States senator with significant power. And not just any random senator with minimal influence. A senator whose name had appeared repeatedly on early prediction lists for a 2028 presidential run. A Senator Joe Rogan had hinted about repeatedly on his podcast episodes. A Senator Charlie reportedly didn't trust at all. A Senator Erika had been seen near far too often for it to be coincidental. The name that emerged was J.D. Vance, and the internet absolutely exploded with reaction. Even though the leaked clip didn't confirm the exact timing or surrounding context of the conversation, people filled in all the gaps instantly with their own interpretations. Videos began circulating everywhere showing their interactions. Footage of Erika standing too close to JD at political events. Clips of Erika adjusting his tie backstage before appearances. Moments of Erika whispering in his ear during private conversations. Instances of JD touching her shoulder during private conversations caught on camera. Images of Usha glaring at Erika during a press photo opportunity. People began obsessively pointing to every single interaction they'd ever seen between them in any context. Suddenly, Erika's proximity to this particular senator didn't look accidental anymore. It looked purposeful, strategic, and carefully designed by someone. And the theory Joe had floated that someone powerful was grooming her to become First Lady no longer felt like a reach or conspiracy. It felt absolutely real and terrifying. But then came the real twist that nobody saw coming. While people debated endlessly whether Erika wanted JD or JD wanted Erika or Erika simply wanted JD's position of power, a far bigger revelation dropped that blew everything wide open. A second source came forward with information that changed the entire narrative. This source wasn't a journalist looking for a story, not a political consultant with an agenda, not a campaign staffer seeking revenge. It was someone from Charlie Kirk's actual inner circle, someone who worked directly with him during his final year alive and witnessed everything firsthand. They sent reporters a document that couldn't be ignored, a single page containing Charlie's handwritten notes from his private moments. And at the very top of the page, circled 3 times with obvious emphasis and urgency, were the words that made everyone's blood run cold. They want Erika in a position of power. Underneath that main statement were bullet points written in Charlie's own handwriting. Short, panicked, urgent observations. One said she doesn't understand what's happening. Another mentioned influencers shaping her image deliberately. Another noted no transparency in their operations. Yet another said she's being pushed toward him intentionally. One word simply said dangerous in all capital letters. Another warned that if people find out the truth, she won't be safe. At the very bottom next to an asterisk was a final desperate note. Tell her to stop everything. Stop before she becomes part of it permanently. The internet completely collapsed into chaos when this document went public. People cried real tears over the revelation. People screamed in frustration and anger. People demanded immediate answers from everyone involved. The realization hit everyone simultaneously. Charlie had tried to stop something terrible from happening. He tried desperately to protect Erika from forces she didn't understand. He feared someone was pushing her toward a fate she hadn't chosen. But pushing her toward what exactly? Power she couldn't handle, a role she wasn't aware she was being groomed for, a political marriage arranged by others, or something even darker than anyone imagined. And most importantly, who exactly were they that Charlie referenced? Joe Rogan didn't mince words when addressing this revelation. He said directly that it wasn't JD working alone on this plan. It wasn't Erika working alone with full awareness. It wasn't personal feelings or romantic attraction. It was a coordinated move by multiple players. But then Joe said something that sent chills through everyone watching everywhere. He said that Charlie wasn't afraid of Erika's ambition or desire for power. He was afraid of who was feeding it to her and controlling her actions. And that's when the story exploded again into an even bigger scandal. Because the real twist that Joe revealed was that Erika wasn't the mastermind behind this entire operation. She wasn't the architect designing the blueprint. She wasn't even in control of her own decisions anymore. Someone else had been grooming her carefully, guiding her strategically, positioning her exactly where they wanted her. Someone with serious political reach across the country, someone with deep campaign ties to multiple candidates, someone with presidential aspirations of their own for the future. And Charlie Kirk had discovered the absolute truth before anyone else figured it out. He tried desperately to stop them from succeeding, but according to Joe Rogan's sources, Charlie died before he could expose the real person pulling all the strings from behind the curtain. That person's identity, Joe claims with absolute confidence that he knows exactly who they are, and he's preparing to reveal it to the world very soon. The moment Charlie's handwritten notes leaked to the public, the entire political universe shook like a fault line snapping under unbearable pressure. It wasn't the scribbled warnings themselves that terrified people who saw them. It was the undeniable fact that Charlie, a man with unmatched influence and deep access to conservative power structures across America, had been genuinely afraid. Truly afraid in a way few people ever saw him. Afraid of someone very close to him. Afraid of someone extremely powerful. Afraid of someone trying to use Erika for a plan she didn't fully understand the implications of. And the public knew it with certainty. The atmosphere online felt absolutely electrified with tension. Every influencer, every political commentator, every anonymous source on social media was throwing theories into the wind constantly. But the tone changed dramatically the moment Joe Rogan said the one sentence nobody was prepared to hear. He said that Charlie didn't die with that secret locked away forever. He passed it to someone before he died, and that person is finally talking publicly. The internet froze momentarily, then erupted because everyone knew exactly who Joe was referring to. Erika herself was about to speak. And suddenly everything took on new meaning. The mirror meetings, the leaked recordings, the coaching sessions, the mysterious donors, all of it took on an entirely new shape in people's minds. But the real twist was still coming, and it hinged on one critical question that everyone was asking. Who was the architect behind everything? Who was grooming Erika so carefully? Who had a first lady plan before Charlie even died? Everyone speculated endlessly. Everyone guessed wildly. Everyone accused different people. But absolutely no one expected the revelation that followed next. The escalation began when a new source emerged, completely anonymous, using encrypted communication, clearly terrified of being identified, contacted several major journalists with a single cryptic message. The message said simply to check the visitor logs carefully. No explanation provided, no context given, just those 4 haunting words. By the next morning, an investigative reporter dropped their findings publicly. Erika Kirk had visited a private political consulting firm exactly 6 times during the 6 months before Charlie died. Not for charity work as she claimed, not for speaking coaching, not for grief counseling sessions, but for something called image engineering and political grooming services. The firm specialized exclusively in elevating public figures into successful political spouses, the kind of people who could stand beside presidential candidates and help win national elections. Their client list was completely confidential by design, their methods controversial and secretive, their influence absolutely undeniable across politics. And the most explosive detail wasn't Erika's visits themselves. It was the signature on the approval request forms. Someone had authorized Erika's entry every single time she visited. Not Charlie, who was unaware, not Erika acting alone, not JD, who stayed distant. A third party was involved, a hidden force operating behind everything. A major political influencer with presidential ambitions of their own for the future. But the identity on those documents was heavily redacted, blacked out so thoroughly it looked like someone had burned the page with ink intentionally. The internet exploded yet again with the same questions. Who signed those authorization forms? Who groomed Erika so methodically? Who wanted her prepared before Charlie's death even occurred? Then Joe Rogan returned to his podcast with new information. This time he didn't smirk or tease his audience. He didn't joke around casually. His tone was dark and dead serious. He said that the person who funded those meetings is the same exact person Charlie feared most. And that person is still active in conservative politics today, wielding enormous power. The internet ignited with accusations and theories spreading everywhere. This wasn't mere speculation anymore. This was a direct accusation pointing at someone specific. The pressure tightened from every direction imaginable. JD's entire team went into complete panic mode. Usha reportedly shut down all travel plans immediately. Major donors started withdrawing their financial commitments frantically. Top strategists whispered privately that a massive political collapse was inevitable if the truth dropped publicly. But Erika herself, she spiraled into absolute chaos. Her phone buzzed constantly with calls and messages. Reporters camped outside her house day and night. Her assistant said she couldn't sleep anymore, couldn't eat properly, couldn't breathe without shaking uncontrollably. Because Erika wasn't just remembering Charlie's warning from months ago. She was finally beginning to understand it completely. She remembered vividly the night Charlie confronted her intensely, the night he begged her desperately to stop attending certain meetings. She remembered exactly how he described someone using her, shaping her, twisting her into something she wasn't meant to become. Back then, she genuinely thought Charlie was being overly dramatic, excessively overprotective, or simply exhausted from work. Now, she realized with horror that he had been absolutely terrified. Not for himself or his reputation, but for her safety and future. And then the final revelation happened that changed everything. At exactly 11:58 at night, an unknown account leaked a partial mirror meeting transcript online. Only 3 lines survived before the rest was corrupted or deleted. Line 1 stated that your partnership must look completely natural to everyone. Line 2 warned that public sympathy is temporary but influence is long-term. Line 3 declared that when the senator rises to power, you rise with him simultaneously. The last line set the entire world on fire. It wasn't subtle or innocent. It wasn't ambiguous in any way. It pointed directly to a senator, and only one name fit the timeline perfectly: the proximity, the scandal, and the mirror meetings. Everyone knew it pointed to J.D. Vance. The narrative shifted violently in real time. Theories flooded every social media platform. People claimed Erika was being groomed to become JD's political spouse. Some believed someone wanted to replace Usha with Erika. Others thought this was a planned power move. Many insisted this wasn't an affair but an agenda. The theory spread that Charlie discovered the plot and tried to stop it before it was too late. Joe Rogan poured gasoline on the raging fire with his next devastating statement. He said that JD wasn't the mastermind behind this operation. He was simply another pawn being moved on the board. The world went completely silent. A sitting senator reduced to merely a pawn. If JD wasn't controlling the plan, then who was orchestrating everything? Was it a mega donor with billions, a political strategist with connections, a billionaire with influence, a kingmaker behind the scenes, or presidential hopeful positioning pieces? Everything turned absolutely chaotic everywhere. News outlets released emergency panel discussions. Political groups demanded immediate investigations. Commentators screamed over each other live on air. The shockwave spread across the entire nation. And as the chaos reached its peak, one thing became crystal clear. This wasn't just a scandal about ambition or power. This was about something far darker, a blueprint for control, a plan that cost Charlie his life, and a truth that was finally about to shatter everything. The mastermind's identity remained hidden, but not for long. Because the moment of revelation was approaching fast, and when that name finally drops, nothing in conservative politics will ever be the same again.